There we go. How's it going, everybody? Those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt. I'm your brand strategy. There you go. Without lower thirds and everything. I'm your brand strategy lead here at Gun, and I'm joined by.
Hey everyone, I'm Sid. I'm the community manager here at Gun. Welcome.
And if you have been kind of keeping up with some of the chatter on socials and things like that, we've been talking a bit about wanting to run this stream to give you guys a little more context behind what's going into the upcoming patch. You know, the big patch trademark. We've got our friend here. I saw somebody in chat say
Honorary.
we need that Nugget better be on camera. So we've got Nugget. We're all good. I think we're all set. How do we sound? Hopefully everything lights, audio, we're all good to roll. But like I said, we have a couple of items on our list that we want to run through. We felt they were important enough to, spend a little more time talking about them and give you guys a little more context on what exactly we're doing with this big patch outside of the Muerto times. But we also felt that running a second Muerto times might confuse the messaging. We know you guys expect to see the times and then see the patch, and then we're rolling, we're rocking, we're doing our thing. So we figured let's give this desk setup a run, which, as you can see, this is our desk setup. This is where we do our news. This is very, very important business goes on here. We wanted to give the desk setup a trial run and talk over some of these things. So we will get some questions from chat and all of that. I'll be keeping an eye on chat here, and we'll try to tackle a few of those at more toward the end of the stream. But before we go too far, Sid, why don't you jump in with our first list item?
Yeah, I'm going to start off. And so one of the first changes that y'all are going to be able to see is that victims are now going to start off with a 60-second cooldown on their abilities at the start of a match. This change is brought to you by just us wanting to kind of incentivize stealth play and trying to stop some of the rush meta that we've seen in game.
Yeah, I would say that one of the coolest things about this change, though, also is the basement gameplay is going to see a lot of differences after this patch goes live. If you tuned into the last stream, you know that the Leatherface requirement is being lifted. Now, obviously, you can still choose Leatherface and you might start in the basement. But we did see a lot of questions, actually, from people saying, will that change who starts in the basement? Will another family member be in the basement? And that's not the case. The situation with Leatherface not being required, the game stays the same. So you have an opportunity there where if you so choose, you might bring a different, cast of characters to the family side. This change also could see that, that would obviously impact basement gameplay. This change is going to impact basement
Everybody
gameplay.
has a cooldown the ability to start the match.
A little cooldown that's going to give you a little buffer room on how
And not changing no baby, told ya.
Popping locks or Lelands or throwing shoulders into people or,
It brings me to the next point that I've got to make, and it's that noise is now going to start to follow victims for a few seconds. So when you are spamming that toolbox, when you're going through that bone pile, when you're running through bone charms, if you set off a nugget,
there you go.
If you slam a door, those noise pings will follow you for a little bit.
This was interesting. One of the things that I think bears mentioning here, all of the noise right now that you make, aside from, say, coughing over.
It didn't say how many seconds.
Like that. All of the noise that you make kind of stays where you made the noise. And so we were seeing a lot of things with sandbagging teammates. You run through, you grab something real quick, and then your other stealthy teammate is standing there like, what the hell, man? You kind of brought him to me. So now that noise ping is going to stick to you a little bit. So if you sprint through bone charms, you used to be able to sprint through the bone charms and then that was it. The noise would kind of stay there. A good Leatherface knows where you might have been, or a good family member knows where you might go from there, but it didn't stick to you. Now it will. And I think that's going to really change.
Hey, they don't like the cheese.
Again, we're just trying to kind of incentivize stealth where we can. And if you do still want to rush, at least you'll know that these are some of the changes coming up.
And, before we get into number 3, it's kind of like we discussed on the last stream where we talked about, speedy play should be allowed. We're not trying to say you can't play speedy. If you choose to play fast, that's your call. It should be punishing, though, and this is part of that move toward, hey, stealth is rewarding and speedy is possible, viable, but there's punishments there. So,
all right. The next point I have is that victims will now stop leaving footprints for Johnny to follow if they're moving at the slowest pace while crouching, which means if you're crouch walking, Johnny will no longer be able to see footsteps from you when he's using his tracking ability.
That's fair.
And again,
I like that.
Just to contextualize a little bit, we
Makes sense.
talked about the change to the cook where, he won't be able to hear you if you're crouched and you're moving slowly. So if you're crouched and you're moving at that walking pace, right? This kind of goes hand in hand with that. And again, you know, there's a lot of victim mains out there who are probably already like, oh, victim nerfs, it's all victim nerfs. But this is somewhat of a nerf to the family side.
He's
somewhat
making
a
fun
nerf
of the
to Johnny,
victims.
similar to how the cook move is somewhat of a nerf to the cook. And again, the greater point here is this plays into that concept of
Making fun of them
playing stealthy
toxic
is reward.
victims.
So now you can avoid some of those kind of opportunities to get detected by, you know, moving slowly, you know, staying crouched, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So far,
We
so
just want
good.
people to be able to play matches for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Finally.
The next thing I have on the docket is that we're actually going to be changing the position of detection at escape gates. So what this means is that once a player has crossed the gate, it will now trigger as they've escaped. This change is to kind of help prevent players from being able to camp and teabag at exits from outside of the gate. We're looking at you, Slaughterhouse.
Yeah, and you know, honestly, this is all directly Wes's fault because he refused to put the truck in that comes out and kills victims in the road randomly. So rather than having them dancing out there with no truck to run them over, similar to the bus I threw Wes under, there's going to be the escape volume is much closer to the gate. So like,
Yeah,
I think
rubber
of,
boots, get
gates
that
on
shit
to
out of
Slaughterhouse,
the skill tree.
back exit of Family House where you have that long run out where they could go around the corner and hide and then do some trickery and they dance when Grandpa goes off and shit like that. You know, that's going to be clipped. nipped in
And
the
no more
bud. So
no more
the minute you step
teabagging at the
outside,
exit,
you're
guys.
beat.
Yeah, you're gone. So,
Yeah.
you know, do your
Damn.
sensible teabagging maybe not
Yeah,
before
yeah.
that.
Just teabag inside the gate. That's all.
And no
Yeah, I mean,
DVD,
you
guys.
have to.
Go back
I
to
know.
DVD if you want to teabag at the exit.
Here, let me go into the next thing. Speaking of some changes, we're going to be
Fuck
making
rubber
some
boots. That shit was
changes to
trash
the gas
anyway.
station. We're now going to be changing where the fuse pickup locations are, so they're not going to spawn so close to the fuse box. And we're pretty excited to see how that's going to play out in gameplay now, just because sometimes they'd spawn pretty close to one another, and it'd be not the way that we intended for that to play out.
I mean, the people were sharing straight up screenshots with us on Reddit where the fuse was here and directly across the walkway that was the fuse box, and it's like you could
Exactly.
just grab the fuse and go straight to the fuse box.
Yeah.
You know, these are things that we uncover with the help of you guys playing the game. You know, hours and hours and hours on end.
Shit made no sense.
These random systems and things that place.
Why the
spawn
fuck the fuse
locations
next to the fuse box?
You know, what you're looking at there is a system where the fuse box can spawn in a couple different locations. The fuses can spawn in a couple different locations. And every
All
now
now
and then
across
these things
each
around and
other.
you get silly things like
Across
that.
the
So just,
map.
you know, millions, I guess, at this point, it's safe to say, of hours of gameplay. These are things that get uncovered. And so, yeah, this is more a bit
Want
of
a
a maintenance
refund?
one, but we did want to mention it because we had seen so many screenshots of people going, are you kidding? This is right here. And yeah.
That was good so
it's a little
far.
high profile.
Speaking of, I just want to shout out our subreddit, which you can join. Andy's not on this stream, but he is in chat, so you can give him a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy's hanging out in there. And we also have a Mighty Mel in the chat, too, handling some of the mod duties. So, and of course, we're joined by Rob, our producer.
Yep, they're trying to encourage
hanging out
stealth
over there.
gameplay.
He's pushing buttons and dials.
So
and
far, so
levers and
good. I
things,
like
so-
it.
What's up, you guys?
Yeah, there you go. There's Rob. So, yeah. Basically, that whole idea of tuning little items like that with those fuse boxes, there's going to be a lot of those.
Shout out for
That's
Ben
not
for
something
100
that we're
gallo
ever
kills.
Really going to kind of, you know, maybe some point down the line we'll be done with, but for the most part, keep those things coming up. And if you can find screenshots, that's the most helpful thing because, again, we're talking about overlapping randomizers that kind of sync up every now and then. So send those screenshots into support.txchainsawgame.com. I see questions. Excuse me 1 second. I see questions. We're going to get to those. We have a couple more items to talk about, so don't think I'm ignoring you. I've actually made some mental notes about a few, and we'll talk about them in a minute.
All right, the next thing, speaking of tuning, we're going to be talking about Cook in this next point. We're changing how his ability charge ticks down. So now the way that it's going to work is that it's going to tick down correctly while being actively used as opposed to just honing in and focusing in on a victim. And this is to help with Cook's spamming ability, which we saw plenty of speaking in the subreddit of the Cook has heard you, Cook has heard you. So we heard you.
Yeah, you know, the situation with Cook too, Cook got a little bit of a change to his ability. You can crouch and walk and avoid it, but also there were a lot of people that kind of realized that if you pick up the sound ping and tell the direction, his ability doesn't start ticking away yet. So they could say to their friends, oh, they're over there, they're over that way, they're at the front gate, they're over there. It wasn't until he focused in that the ability would start pulling, right? And that shouldn't be the case. If you're in that ability, there should be a drain there. So again, I know it's somewhat of a cooked nerf, but once in a while we have to nerf the family too.
Because
There we go. I'm gonna get attacked for that one too. I'm digging my own.
it
grave.
really was
And
annoying. I ain't gonna
again,
hold you.
all
When I
of
play
this goes
Victim,
into,
that
like, we
cook
wanna
spam was
play
annoying. I ain't gonna hold you.
better and more interestingly for some people, because we saw that a lot in their subreddit, and we just want to incentivize stealth on, and like strategic gameplay on both ends.
Oh,
Yeah,
who cares if he spam? he wasn't gonna kill you with that
And I
shit.
have one last point to bring up.
It was just
And
annoying.
then we'll kind of start going into chat and talking and ask questions with you all.
It really was
And,
annoying though.
So this is more of a fixing an issue. We fixed an issue where the all victims killed XP event would apply even when all victims had not been killed. So that means that family players will see a slight change in XP at the end of their matches compared to what you've been used to seeing. With that change, we just kind of wanted to make mention with that. Just because it'll probably be noticeable, especially like the more that you've played. So we just wanted to be as transparent about that as possible.
Yeah, and I don't want anybody to panic over this. We did recently buff family XP values, and so that's awesome and working out great, and the feedback has been awesome about that. But it was kind of giving you a bonus for something you didn't do, so we kind of had to pull that one. That being said, I know there's going to be a lot of panic and people going, well, now family XP is going to be rough. Let's just keep talking and keep the lines of communication open, and we can obviously continue to evaluate that. So, the first question that I saw in chat that I feel we really should talk a little more about is in regards to how Leatherface plays now. A lot of you are upset, worried, kind of concerned maybe about the Leatherface requirement. Others are, 100% behind the change, and that's great. But just to give a little more clarity on that, the requirement is lifted, but that doesn't mean that anything else in the game changes. Similar to how you have to have a cook in order to put an extra padlock on. You have to have a hitchhiker for traps. If you choose not to run a Leatherface, the game is going to look the same as it did previously. That's the risk you're running by choosing not to run a Leatherface. Now,
They can't make
team
panic.
composition, I know there's a lot of, I don't want to say high-level players, but players who have sunk a lot of time into their different family members outside of Leatherface. They are 100% confident running in there with Hitchhiker, Sissy, and Cook, maybe. There's going to be other squads that need a Leatherface in order to make it happen, but part of this is it leaves a lot more to the team, the players, to choose what synergies they want to aim for, and I think that we made a mistake by talking a little too much about, oh, you're going to miss Leatherface. You are. I think you are going to miss Leatherface. But I also
You are
think
going to
that
miss it.
there's a lot of synergies that you're going to be able to see now that maybe weren't possible before.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how matches play out now. It's going to be interesting to
I'm
kind of
shocked.
be able to see in
They're
real
not removing
time
none of the
how
barriers, and we still got to
community
break
and
them?
you all feel about being able to play these
Without
different
Bubba, you won't
matches
break
and
them?
different runs with different teams. As always, you can always talk to us in our subreddit.
I'm so
We see
shocked.
it, we
I
listen
did
to
not
feedback,
notice by
and
their body language
we're
when
gonna
they
be
announced
tuning
that.
as long as we always say we will and do.
Yeah, nothing's ever permanent, too. Live games are fun like that. We can.
Oh my
we can
God.
tune. But the situation with Leatherface. So just to say it plainly, because I know some people are going to go, but you didn't really answer me. To say it plainly, barricades are still going to be there.
No shit.
You will get looped on barricades possibly.
No shit.
Victims are trying not to die. That's going to happen.
What you thought was going to
You're
happen?
gonna have to figure out ways around those barricades, like Hitchhiker Sissy. They can move through wall spaces and things like that. But yeah, barricades are staying.
I told you
yeah,
guys
if
you
you
need
don't know
Leatherface.
you
Why?
might miss him.
Why would they
Another
remove the
question I had seen
barrier?
was about Bomb Squad and perks in general. I
Oh,
saw a
let me
couple
hear
other
that.
questions about perks in general. I just wanted to touch on that because there are going to be changes coming to perks. We have plans to tune up a lot of our perks in game, but we're kind of putting that all together into one perk-focused patch. It's a lot of P words, so I hope that the windscreen on my mic is holding out. We want to put together a perk patch where we're going to go through and look at, a variety of either best in slot perks and evaluate those for potential changes. Some of the underutilized ones, are there perks that we need to, consider removing and replacing? Are there ones that we just need to rework? And so there's been a lot of great feedback on.
Nah,
Reddit,
it's not
socials,
stupid change.
everywhere.
It's to make everybody
Everywhere that
realize,
you guys
stop
talk to us,
complaining about
there's a lot of
Leatherface,
great
get
feedback on
better, and
which perks you enjoy, which ones you think
you
are
better
low-key,
appreciate
a
Leather
little
because he's the only one that can break
and which
barriers.
ones you feel are just flat out useless.
I was right all
we're
along.
taking
I
all of
was
that in,
right.
We're gonna evaluate and put that together.
I told you
but
they wasn't gonna remove.
similar to how we told you guys,
They
we're
look
working on the
upset when
big
they
patch.
announced that.
We're working on a perk patch.
Mhm.
That's not something that can really be.
It was
you know,
obvious.
snuck in here
Super
and there,
fucking
a line or
obvious.
two, because then it ends up feeling. It needs to be all encompassing, and it needs to be across the board. Touch all the perks, rework some metagame things.
You're wrong. Laugh out loud.
So yeah, Black Girl Victim when? Honestly, we answered this in our last stream. Really, what it comes down to is the characters that we have they're designed, and as long as they fit and make sense in the design. They
People
work
are
in the game.
dumb,
You
bro.
don't really add characters off of like.
You
some
really
checklist
thought
that
they were
you
gonna
need to
remove the
do, but
barricade?
we have a
Come
lot of
on
cool things
now.
coming for
Come
characters.
on.
Speaking of, we have Nancy and Danny coming to the game.
Ooh.
Which,
Ooh.
yeah,
Hype.
we wanted to get the word out. We also have a new map coming. I think some of you guys picked that up. You saw a field of sunflowers, and I feel like you guys figured out what that meant. I'm shocked that I'm not hearing a whole lot of questions about them, which I think is interesting. Oh, new map.
Oh
There you go.
yeah,
There's
like
some.
chat's going off.
Yeah. Any update on the skill tree? Yeah. What particularly are you looking to hear about the skill tree? Because as I said just a moment ago, we're going to be evaluating perks and things like that, trying to make sure that those separate branches within the
Rubber
skill tree,
boots. Rubber boots need to
there's
be
loadouts in
removed.
there outside of
It
just
needs
the
a
one destiny
huge
slot.
rework.
So what I think we need to focus on most is making sure that there's a lot more viability in more than just a few perks in each loadout tree. But as far as that concept, I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No.
We have talked a lot about people saying, let me have a loadout for each different branch of the skill tree. And as I put together an answer. I think Andy shared it with you guys on Reddit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, if you go through and filter through our developer responses, you'll be able to see that. Any of our long form conversations, if you want to go a little bit more in depth, that's like the best way to reach us. Even across our other socials, that's going to be the best way for us to be able to directly see exactly like any of your qualms, your feedback, and be able to kind of engage in like what we're kind of looking at and working on and stuff like that. As Matt said, we've got a lot of stuff on the docket, and looking at perks is one of them, and we're going to be honed in and focused on that in particular.
Yeah, and the nice thing about those developer responses is it's real easy to just see what we've kind of touched on. Skill trees being one of them. The concept of having a different loadout to each different skill tree, you'll notice that there's perks in each skill tree that you have to commit to. Just saying it plainly, you have to commit. I saw actually a really great comment on Reddit from somebody mentioning Bomb Squad. So if you go down the route to get Bomb Squad to face off, you want to be able to combat hitchhiker traps. Being able to go, oh, there's no hitchhiker in here, so now undo all that and just throw on a different loadout. Those commitments to branches in the tree, in my mind, are kind of important. And so we're going to try and make sure that there's more in each branch to motivate builds. But here's a question. I'm assuming it's specifically for Sid.
Oh.
Favorite Lana album?
Oh. Yes.
It's okay.
I've got my LDR jacket on. That's a hard question. Born to Die is great, and Norman fucking Rockwell.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the name of the album. Probably my two favorite Lana albums, but I like everything by her. So thanks for asking.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I saw it come through, and I was like, oh, we got to get that one. What about Russian language? I see that's confirmed coming. Sid, if you want to talk on that a bit. I think when can we expect to see that? I believe we've cleared that up.
I think it's very soon. We're gonna have some news on that. Maybe not this patch, but maybe
I think
our
it's quality of life too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
there.
you're okay. I
think
just didn't want to say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I believe it's going to be in our next upcoming patch. We've heard a lot of feedback on Russian and can I say the other one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really excited about this one. Portuguese.
Yeah.
It's in Portuguese. For quality of life too. We're really excited to be able to share something like that with you all. We saw a lot of people asking for that, so it feels cool to we're doing it.
Yeah, like we said, that's not necessarily this upcoming patch, but the patch after. And again, you'll hear from us.
Nah, I don't trust people who list Norman fucking Rockwell as their favorite LDR album. Just kidding, just kidding.
These patch notes are going to be a doozy. We're going to be putting those together and getting those published probably a little closer to the patch date, which is another cool thing we can talk about. We have a date for the patch. I'm going to let Sid give this good news.
November 28th.
Yeah.
Mark it in your calendars.
Didn't I just say that? I didn't say November
content.
26th to
We have all
28th could be
kinds of
the
fun
next
stuff.
patch.
We also have our patch notes coming just before the 28th. We'll be sharing.
I'm shocked.
You know, basically the full list of 250 fixes.
Oh, and Thanksgiving week.
That's kind of a doozy. It's going to take a little doing. Another important date to get out of the way. We will be out of office next week for the Thanksgiving holiday. So if our comms are a little more spotty, understand that we're taking a little break, be with our families, spend some Thanksgiving time. That being said, though,
Excuse me.
we will be coming back in and have
I'm shocked.
quite a bit of work in order.
I didn't know, man. I didn't know.
Fixes listed for you. How long will it take for us to update this patch? I'm not sure if you're asking about the patch size, but it's probably going to be a pretty big one. Shirtless Johnny release date, please.
Lord have mercy.
Confirm a Shirtless Johnny release date, but it's coming.
Yeah,
So
it's coming.
it's promised.
Be on the lookout.
At least there's that. Yeah. Matt, I would love to use Nicotero chainsaw on my pretty woman skin. Ah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, why are you working at home with Dez when you can be around
here's
them and
thing
talk
with
about the
something
game?
Like that. Nicotero being kind of a premium skin, we built him, top down to be, be a little unique, be a little more kind of individual. And so we wanted to kind of keep that skin unique to Nicotero Leatherface. Usually when you put a skin of that kind of tier out, you want to keep that stuff in one column. The reason the execution is universal, though, is because we knew that, those are the kind of things that they're more about the personality of the character than they are about the skin. But we hear your feedback on Nicotero Leatherface Chainsaw. If there's any change to that, the best thing to do is talk to us. But remember, we're talking about video games here, and so let's keep the mood light and civil. But come at us and let us know, and we can certainly report on that. Can you give us more details on Danny, Nancy? I've seen that a few times. Thanks for the new merchandise. Really, Danny and Nancy, what we can say, Danny and Nancy are going to be all new characters with... Lost your mic. Oh, my mic is lost.
Oh, did we lose?
I'm back.
Back.
My bad. A little bit of a mic problem. Again, we're running a new setup. We're going to get back to Danny and Nancy in a minute. We're running a new setup, and so there might be some things like that. So apologies, my mic cutting out. But so, Danny, Nancy, yeah, we can't really share too much at this time. What we do want to say, though, is they come with their own skill trees, which means their own kind of allotment of perks that go in there, some uniques and things like that. They come with their own new abilities. They're completely different abilities. And yeah, you're going to hear more about them in the coming days. So I got to get a little bit of good news to you guys. We have a much bigger detailed look at them coming very soon. So keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out.
All the usual places, socials, our community hub, that kind of thing.
At TX Chainsaw Game.
Everywhere. Yeah, Rob, can we run the lower third? Because, yeah, why not?
Oh, if we already know, wow.
There you go.
Just think.
When we say keep talking to us, that's what we mean. How did Johnny get his face scar? He got his face scar in Pflugerville, fighting with some folks. He was out doing Johnny things, and somebody kind of got the jump.
Are we dead as asking about the character? Who gives a fuck?
Also. So you know what? I'm not gonna even spoil it. Go to the hub.
Yeah, it's called The Lore of Texas. I wrote it, so you should read it.
Yeah, props. Scout Johnny Fix, he's still frustrating as victim.
Nah.
You get that he's frustrating, but part of that movement that you're seeing with Johnny is kind of designed into his character. So
Thank you.
We're obviously always looking for feedback and potentially tune something like that.
No issue.
It's at this point we're confident in saying that Johnny is not in a place where he's broken.
Thank you. Thank you. We make him broken. He's not broken. We make him broken. You gotta get better.
That's kind of why we try to simplify these things that way. You'll see.
I'm trying to ask for nerve. Y'all said Johnny's trash. Keep that same energy. Keep that same energy. He's trash. Remember, he's trash.
No, not at this
time. Now they want to nerf him. I thought he was trash.
The things we're doing are kind of going to create, kind of a multi-faceted approach towards.
I thought he was trash. What happened, guys? Why they ask you for nerf?
Yeah, we want things to run smoother for players. We want people to be able to load into games as quickly as they want to. And that was some of the changes that were measured and deliberate. We took some time to think about it. And if anything needs adjusting, you can continue to talk to us about that, and we'll look into tuning if needed. But at the moment,
Johnny is one of the worst characters confirmed.
So the story. Oh, here's a cool one. The stories we hear on the radio, are those a mixture of game lore and actual stories that have happened? No, that's all game lore, actually. So make sure that you're listening to those radio broadcasts that you might catch. I did see a question about cook skins. Yes, we will have cook skins. We'll have hitchhiker skins. We're going to have skins for everybody. Not just yet. We're focusing on, you know, the things we've shared. When the time comes to talk about those things, we'll get that to you guys. And I'm going to hit like another question or two. There's been some people asking about you know, hiding maps, a couple things like that. Players are still dodging lobbies. It's not the player level. Again, we have a lot of different things that we're working toward in order to try and help curb that.
Don't hide map because there's not many maps. There's only 3 fucking maps in the game.
Combined effort of all.
We just gotta tighten up.
And again, rather than go nuclear and
that doesn't change the game.
Hammer and start trying to curb the lobby dodging thing, we think that a more measured approach is going to be the way to do this.
You're gonna hide the map, and then when people play slot, they're gonna DC.
Take a feel for what these changes are, how it plays out.
You're gonna dodge. You're gonna dodge. That's it.
To readjusting again.
Yeah, and then just real quick, I want to get a couple out of the way. Slaughterhouse valve, that's going upstairs. We talked about that in the last stream. We're moving the tank upstairs. That should make it much more visible and all of that. Somebody asked what the new map is actually called. It's called Nancy's House. It's her residence. You'll see a little bit about
it's
that.
called Nancy
Like I said,
House.
in the coming days. Thank you guys in general. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah,
and let's see. How much will the new characters and skins cost? Well, new characters and skins, it's 2 different things. New characters, $9.99. Skins, it depends. There's some bundle options and things like that. But all of that information's up on our socials. And just in the name of trying to wrap this up a bit, who's the voice for the radio fella? I believe that's Lex Lang, if I'm not mistaken. And he also is the voice of Leatherface, believe it or not. Oh, Aaron LaPlante. I was wrong on that. Oh, I hit my mic. I apologize. I was wrong on that one. Aaron LaPlante does the voice on the radio. So, will Nancy come with her own unique perks? And if so, will new victim perks come as well? Yes, and they come in Danny's tree and Nancy's tree, respectively. More details on that soon. We're going to pretty much wrap it up here, guys. We're getting a lot of onesie-twosie questions in here. We have our past broadcast from the community Q&A, which answered a lot of the things we're seeing here in chat. We're going to be putting that up onto our YouTube channel as well as the past broadcast of this. We'll be able to reference them.
Wait, that's it?
Stop, pause, get all.
Man, it was a good announcement, but damn.
And yeah.
They could have just announced it. They didn't know how to make this.
Patch.
If you wasn't going to show Nancy and Danny, this is a waste.
Patch, quality of life patch, November 28th. Content, November 28th. I don't know. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
We're thankful for you.
Wait,
Remember
that's
that we're
it?
talking about video games, everybody, and be nice to each other, and at least, you know,
Be cool, be
I
kind.
like to try and keep them snappy. So thank you again for the quick stream, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
They could have just made a video. They didn't have to make a live stream.